Dr. Josh Kornberg is joining us to talk about the next generation of leadership. We're glad to have you, Josh.
Thank you.
I think this is, you're one search away from, I think probably has to be one of the most searched phrases. Working in a post-pandemic world.
Yes.
What do you see as the top challenges that people are facing right now when it pertains to that?
Yeah, so one, I think there are two things to remember. I think one is that I don't know that we're in a post-pandemic world. I say that this is that awkward time in a relationship, like where you want to get rid of the other person, but you just can't do it. So I say, like, we're aside the pandemic right now, and so certainly not in front of us anymore, but certainly not behind us either. So that's the first thing to remember. The second thing that we need to remember is that the only challenge the pandemic is not the only challenge we're facing right now. There are so many other issues that we are dealing with as a society and as a community, right? We're talking about workforce shortage, we're talking about inflation, we're talking about increased wages. There are so many other issues that are at play right now. And so as I talk to folks often, I try to remind people to give yourself the permission to hit reset or pause. Oftentimes we feel like when we hit reset, we feel like we have failed. But the honest truth is that we have not failed at anything. The rules have been changed around us. And so we need to give ourselves a little bit of time to catch up with how those rules have changed. And so we now are figuring out how we work in this new structure that's just been given to us, right? And so we're all figuring that out. And so if I had to tell someone one thing about operating in a post-pandemic world is to give yourself a little bit of grace. Right. Like, we need it right now. We need it for ourselves. We need it for our businesses. Not to say that we can't expect things of each other and expect things of our employees, but gosh, a little bit of flexibility and grace in a moment like this, that goes a long way, not only for yourself, but for your teams as well.
It's funny because I think it took the pandemic forcing us to transform. We almost closed up shop, and then we have transformed in such a way that I left my previous career in network or local television and have never looked back. But it also has been difficult. Things like print. We started as a magazine. That was always my baby. My degrees are in English. And the fact is, while we may have 2, maybe 4 issues in 23 maximum, we are transitioning fully to at least wrapping our heads around on a weekly or monthly digital zine. And having to let go of the fact that, okay, we're only going to have 2 to 4 as opposed to my thought was every month I want a print magazine. We can't do that because the supply and demand is not there. Our own publisher just told us, I don't have anything for you until 2023, so we're shifting gears looking for a new publisher. But that's this much of what my media company does. We're doing all of this anyway. And so having to, that personal guilt, like, this is what we birthed, this was this thing we created that now we have to transition it because of the world that we're living in. That reset is harder.
And it feels like there's a failure that's associated with that.
There does.
But the reality is, the rules have changed. Like, you're not dealing with the same set of circumstances that you were, right? If we were dealing with what we were dealing with 4 years ago, you would probably be putting out your monthly magazines. But what this has done is you now have had to readjust how you play the game. And it's the race for relevancy, right? So if we're going to continue to remain relevant and profitable as a business or any organization, we have to refocus and reframe how we continue to do our work. None of us, literally not one organization or one entity, has continued to do work in the same way that we did prior to 2020. And so that's okay, but I think what it also has to remind us of is that we have not done something wrong. It's just that we have to reinvent how we play the game.
It's funny, I was thinking the other day, I have one brand of paper towel that I absolutely love, and I prefer it. I've I have 4 dogs, 4 cats, a fish, and a 6-year-old, and I love
Lots to clean
this.
up, yeah.
But I just thought about how many choices and everything have really been scaled down, and I just thought, well, you know what? If that one goes away, we'll make do.
That's right.
And we'll figure it out just like we have in everything else in life.
That's right. I think what we have learned as a society in such a short period of time is something that happens generally over generations, but we've just seen it expedited at such a pace to try to keep up with the growth that we're seeing around us. And so we are, while it's been an interesting couple of years to live through, I don't even know that I would classify it as, it's been tough on folks, and I know that everyone experiences different things. But I would say that when I look at it from a macro level, this is such an interesting and I hate to use this word, but this is a cool time to be alive and to be engaged with our communities, because we have to think differently. We have the opportunity to move faster and think more creative than any other generation that has come before us, because we have to. This is a cool time to be here and to be engaged.
I like the positivity of this, because going back to what you'd said, my idea was this is how it's going to be, and we had to go, hang on a second. We can't control the fact. I remember one time we got a phone call, your paper is sitting in Canada. And there literally were no truck drivers to get it to our press to print.
Let alone trying to get through a border at that point.
I can't control that. That has nothing to do with me. So how can we still serve our clients and provide them what they need and that relevancy, but also let go of that. Resetting doesn't necessarily mean I've resigned myself to failure.
Right. I think the other thing that's really important to remember is through these moments, we have all had victories along the way, but we do not take time to celebrate ourselves and others. And so if anyone who is watching this is struggling with this, take a minute and celebrate your own successes. This is your time. This is our time. Take a minute to celebrate what you have done and what you've been able to do over these last couple years, because, gosh, if you're not celebrating yourself, no one else is going to do that. So,
no one else will. You're exactly right. I'm trying to make a concerted effort to reach out to people just to say, I think you're amazing. I think what you did was phenomenal. Well done. And really making sure, even if it's just a quick text or phone call, or, I like to handwrite little cards.
Going old school there.
That's one of my
something
favorite
that won't change.
things.
Yep, I agree.
Hey, Generation X.
That's right. I'm a big fan of handwritten cards as well. I'm a big fan of it, so very much.
But celebrating you and others. That's, I think, sage advice.
That's exactly what it is. So.
Okay, Dr. Kornberg, Josh, we look forward to having you again.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you.
Absolutely.